Well, every night millions of people stop breathing in their sleep. Not once, sometimes a dozen times, every hour. Their oxygen falls, the heart has to accelerate, and our brain briefly thinks that there's something awful going on. And so in the mornings, we are tired, and sometimes the brain wakes up briefly during the night, and we breathe again. And this is what is basically sleep apnea. Uh, and you may remember nothing the next morning. A disease people often ignore until something goes wrong. That something may be uncontrolled blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, a car accident because you passed out, or worsening heart or lung disease. The most common type of obstructive sleep apnea is uh, really what I see every day, where somebody with OSA during sleep, uh, they literally start snoring, and the upper airway becomes narrow and sometimes completely blocked. The muscles supporting the tongue and the throat relax, and breathing stops, or it becomes way too shallow, not good enough. The brain detects the falling in oxygen, the rise in the carbon dioxide. It triggers a brief awakening. The airways reopen. You gasp, you snort, you choke, and you fall asleep again. The cycle may happen over and over and over again. There's also what's called central sleep apnea, in which the brain temporarily fails to send the connect breathing signal to correct the breathing signal, and that's a different condition with a different cause. So, what are the warning signs? Persistent snoring, loudness when you snore, breathing pauses, especially somebody else sees you or sleeps next to you and says, "What the heck?" Gasping or choking during sleep, morning headaches, dry mouth, difficulty concentrating, being irritable, getting up to pee at night, excessively sleeping during the day, needing so much coffee to stay away, or the lovely energy drinks. And you really don't need to be a fat guy to have it. The sleep apnea can affect women, younger adults, and people who simply have larger tonsils. I've seen that before. I've had patients who have certain jaw or facial structures, and they're not really overweight, they just have sleep apnea. So, some patients are not obviously sleepy. They may describe fatigue and insomnia. And I've heard a lot of folks saying, "Doc, I just don't feel refreshed." So remember, snoring alone does not prove sleep apnea, but repeated choking or breathing pause uh, as you're sleeping is not normal. Now, why does it matter? Each obstruction is stressful. Oxygen falls, the pressure inside the chest goes up, and the body struggles to deal with this closed airway, and the sympathetic nervous system, the body's fight and flight system, gets activated instead of you resting. That's no bueno. This can produce surges in heart rate and blood pressure, and over time, obstructive sleep apnea can lead to heart disease, lung disease, heart failure, arrhythmia, and even metabolic dysfunction. So the connection between atrial fibrillation, or what they call AFib, and obstructive sleep apnea is real. Uh, how much stress you put on your nervous system is real. Resistant hypertension, meaning your blood pressure doesn't go down despite all the lovely meds or medications they're giving you, is real. So the American Heart Association that I like recommends screening for sleep apnea in people with difficult to control hypertension or pulmonary hypertension or recurrent atrial fibrillation. Uh, Now, sleep apnea can also interact with respiratory problems, nasal congestion, allergies, infections, uh, nighttime breathing, asthma, COPD, obstructive sleep apnea, morbid obesity. And people a lot of times have what most of us have, overlap syndrome, a little bit of everything. And so asthma or COPD is something that we need to deal with. The diagnosis with for sleep apnea, in my opinion, shouldn't be with a phone app or a snoring uh, person or if you snore and person next to you says you got sleep apnea because you snore. I would much rather you do a standard comprehensive test. It's an overnight polysomnography in a sleep lab. It can measure brain waves, sleep stages, airflow, respiratory efforts, oxygen levels, heart rhythm, body position, and limb movements. And for uncomplicated adults who have a high likelihood of moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea, a medically ordered home sleep apnea test would be good enough. Lab testing is better, especially if heart lung is involved and uh, suspected hypoventilation, neuromuscular weakness, chronic opioid use, previous stroke, or severe insomnia is an issue. A home test could be a good start. However, make sure the test that gets done is interpreted by someone who's qualified to do that. The report often includes what's called apnea hypopnea index, or AHI, which is an average number of complete or partial breathing interruptions per hour of sleep. So, in my opinion, 5 to 14 events per hour is generally classified as mild. Up to 29 is moderate, and 30 or more is severe. And that's not really the entire story, because even though the apnea hypoxia index is a big deal, symptoms, oxygen level, cardiovascular disease, and the sleep state matters too. How do we treat this? We typically use what's called the CPAP machine, and this delivers gentle air pressure through the mask that creates a pneumatic splint that holds the airways open. It's not forcing oxygen into the lungs, which is what everybody tells me. It is preventing the throat from collapsing. There are modern machines that are quieter, masks that are nicer. As a matter of fact, I saw one last night that I really liked. A different mask, a heated humidifier, pressure adjusted mask. There's a lot. So, uh, but CPAP is not the only option. There are mandibular advancement devices that can move the lower jaw forward and enlarge the airway that could be used. It could be fitted. by a qualified dental professional. Weight reduction, as always, helps everything. As of 2024, FDA approved uh, tirzepatide as the first medication for moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea in adults with obesity, together with reduced calorie nutrition. Uh, Selected patients may benefit from surgery if they got very enlarged tonsils or a deviated septum or an abnormal jaw anatomy. Hypoglossal nerve stimulators are another modern option, and an implanted device stimulates the nerve controlling the tongue during sleep, and this helps prevent the tongue from blocking the airway, so that's definitely good. Now, what's the best treatment? In my opinion, it's the treatment that matches your anatomy. The sleep apnea is not loud snoring, it's repeated suffocation, repeated stress, repeated interruption of sleep. You can't, and you can't really just let it go because it bothers you and it's just not going to go away on its own unless you make the changes. And you sure don't want to end up with atrial fibrillation because you ignored something so simple. As always, this video provides general information, education. I'd like to be a good doctor and share with you what I know, and I hope this has been useful. If you are having stroke, fainting, shortness of breath, chest pain, sudden issues, please go to the emergency department. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope this has been useful.